Welcome to the Athletic Fantasy Football Podcast. Once again, I'm hosting. Michael Beller still on baby duty for probably a while. As mentioned last week, little sneak preview of who we were having. It's myself, Brandon Funston, as always, but special guest Graham Barfield, one of the best, and kind of like I said, you're getting that beard out there. But also, the best part about him, I don't know if you see, like Funston let us down. I have my C3PO and R2D2 as Batman and Robin. Graham's got a Star Wars sweatshirt. Funston's a bum. May the 4th be with everybody except for Funston. What's up, Graham?
What's up, guys? Yeah, man. Sorry, I had the quick time up and I had a major echo. I'm doing good. Yeah, may the 4th be with you guys. Like this should be a national holiday at this point, shouldn't it? I mean, especially with Mandalorian coming out, we got the new Obi-Wan coming out.
Did you see they tweeted out? I retweeted it. Just take my money now. They actually have a working lightsaber that they're developing. That
really
comes out and actually goes back in.
I have seen that. I think my buddy sent me that. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. It's really sweet.
That's just pre-order. Can I do it right now?
Yes. Yes.
Skip a house payment, whatever you're charging.
Yeah, skip the rent payment. You don't need that. Just go ahead and put your investment aside.
I mean, I'm honestly thinking it has to be a rent pay. If the regular, like the Force blades are what, $200-$300, I'm thinking that's probably going to be close to $1,000, if not more.
Yeah, easily. I mean, if Elon Musk can sell not flamethrowers on the internet, then we should be able to get lightsabers at this point. Come on.
I'm with you. Funston, are you interested at all over here? Like,
I am, but I would suffer in comparison if I tried to throw around my Star Wars knowledge and all that. So I just
so what you're setting yourself up to fail our game today is what you're telling me.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly
you don't
right.
have to have super. It might help if you were like a super Star Wars, like invested. Like, I don't know, Graham might be on this level. I'm not sure, but you'll see. Well, we're gonna play a game today because it is May the 4th. But we are talking NFL draft.
I'm in big trouble. Yeah.
No. The sports knowledge could help too. Like, you might overlap some sports. You'll see. Just put that in the pin book right now for it. But anyway, yeah, NFL draft. So, Graham, real quick, you kind of have the floor to set up because we talked a lot on Friday. A lot of things were going on, so people might have missed our show. But Brandon and I already covered the first round. But I real quickly wanted to hit with you on the same players everybody's talking about for the first round. The biggest one right now, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields. Let's take Dynasty, because that's been a debate. As they said, there's a case where you could say maybe Justin Fields for the rushing upside. Are you a Lawrence or Fields guy in Dynasty?
I'll actually throw another name in there. It's Trey Lance. I've actually got Lance as my QB2 in my rookie ranks. We only have whatever it was, 13, 14 starts for him. But I mean, he led this quarterback class in rushing yards per game by a mile. I mean, now he gets to go to this offense that already has an extremely high floor with, great offensive line, great weapons, great coach. I think Lance deserves him to be in that conversation. I still think Lawrence is the QB1 by a pretty wide margin, simply because he's Trevor freaking Lawrence. The Jags definitely have some question marks with like surrounding talent and just surrounding organizational concerns, I would say. But yeah, Lawrence long-term. For sure. And, one of the things that I noticed just watching and charting Travis Etienne this year, Trevor Lawrence was like almost underutilized as a running quarterback. He was a beast in the red zone. They would run, these zone reads to the outside, and Lawrence was so good at reading the front and knowing where to go with the ball, either, keeping himself or giving it to Etienne. So I'm excited to see that duo. I actually have Fields as the 3 among those 3 guys. And that's simply because Justin Fields' talent is incredible. And for our game, he's another Konami code quarterback. But I have concerns about the Bears organization long-term. Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy just basically sold their souls long-term. And if they don't get Fields right, this might not have anything to do with Justin Fields. But if they have an off year or whatever, they finish 8-8 or 8-9, whatever now, they could see themselves on the way out and be, Justin Fields would be with the new coaching staff. So for Dynasty, I've got Lawrence, Lance, and then Fields.
Any second thoughts, Brandon, after we talked about it on Friday?
No, not really. I mean, Lance is a big enigma, but man, just such a good system. And you just, that's what speaking to, like, Pace and Nagy in Chicago versus Shanahan for Lance in San Francisco. I mean, you just feel like Lance is in way, way, way better hands. And, time will tell. I as a Seahawks fan, I hope he busts, but they definitely took the quarterback with with the higher ceiling in Lance, versus all the rumors of Mac Jones. So, this has a chance to pay big dividends for them.
Well, that's what it all comes down to is the ceiling. I admittedly probably am one of the lowest on Lance. And it's just so you know, Graham, it's not that I completely disagree with anything you said. But, one of the things I've continuously said on this podcast is we have to remember, and I know you're not saying this, but the people who are is the next Josh Allen. Josh Allen was 1 out of 20. Like, Josh Allen is the exception to the rule. He's not the rule. And everybody's acting like he's the rule. So I actually took Zach Wilson over Trey Lance we did a mock, a super flex mock. And I said, because I agree with you. I admit Lance has the higher ceiling. If I'm going for it, I'm going for Lance. But I had Wilson in the same tier, and Wilson, with what I think the Jets are finally doing, is smart football for a change. Just the bust rate is there. So I don't disagree with you at all on that one. Here's one. By the way, I'm going to kind of pivot real quick before we get to it because I'm tying something in. Your former colleague, Marcus Grant, was on last week, and we were talking about the 101. And we're talking about 101 in the rookie class, not super flex, not tight end premium. But before we get to that, I forgot to do this at the top. Graham, tell people where to find your work because it's really great work.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Fantasypoints.com. We had a draft guide that came out like maybe April. I think it was April 1st, actually. We have an app out so you can go back and read all of Greg Cosell's rookie profiles for whichever your favorite player, whoever they went to, what team they went to, so you can see all of that. Wes Huber has a bunch of like look forward stuff on like the 2022 draft if you're just total degenerate and want to get in on that. Check it out. Yeah, promo code 21 Barfield 10 to get yourself a 10% discount.
And at Graham Barfield on Twitter, and one of the better ones out there. So make sure you follow. By the way, you're running back. So you mentioned that. Do you still want to pump that at all for everybody out there?
Oh yeah, we got yards created content coming out later this week, and then definitely the week after. Usually takes me some time to kind of just like get through all of this because it's a lot to get through. But yeah, yards created breakdown will come out next week. We have data up on the site. I just pushed an update through last week. So nice. Yeah, the good news though is I've been a little bit behind with this class just because we moved. And like all of February was shot, and I was working on a couple other projects. But the good news is this class sucks. So I'm not really missing out too much.
That's what I said. Yeah. I noticed like it was late in day 2 and I was counting. There was like more tight ends off the board than there were running backs. And I was like, man, NFL teams just aren't into this running back class this year.
Yeah. There were 4 day 2 running backs. And I think that was the fewest since like modern draft history.
Yeah. That's the thing is so
like since the merger in the 70s.
We just did a rookie mock on our site on The Athletic, and I purposely did this with this purpose. Like, oh, you traded in a mock, but I wanted to do it because I wanted to be able to write about it. And I know it's late to the game now for a lot of experienced leagues out there, but if you're not a newer dynasty league or you have people that just love rookies in general, I said after the middle of the second round, trade out. Trade either back into the top of the second round or trade for 2022 because this is honestly – it was great wide receiver class, great wide receiver class, great wide receiver. Well, now there's nowhere for any of these players to go, and they're all buried.
Yeah, well, Scott Barrett and I talked about this in our podcast last night, and I said the same. It's so funny you say that because I said the same exact thing, Jake. If you have like mid-second rounds, just trade them for 2022s because that class is. I mean, I've talked to Wes, and Wes Huber, our guy at the site. He's a huge Devy guy, and he loves that class. And he liked this receiver class too, but I just think a lot of these landing spots were super disappointing. And yeah, I mean, we had a bunch of guys slide. So yeah, I'm 100% with you on selling 2022s.
Yeah, I think there could be 7 wide receivers in next year's first round, depending on what breaks right. It'll be interesting. All right, so to go back to what we were talking about with Marcus, he and I agreed on this. Funston didn't severely disagree with it, but it's just like, he sees the case for it. In again, non-super flex, non-tight end premium, because I want to make that point clear because this is just a regular dynasty. Marcus and I both say Kyle Pitts 101. Like there's a lot of debate out there. You can say Harris, you can say Chase. I mean, if you're quarterback needy, even though it's only one quarterback league, I could still see Lawrence. But all that being said is basically like the fact that we're projecting all these players. We're projecting Chase is going, like, let's say everybody succeeds. Chase is a top 10 wide receiver. Najee Harris is a top 10 running back. But if we're projecting Pitts and he succeeds, we're saying he's going to be Kittle and Kelsey. And if that's the case, that because of the drop off of the other positions for us is warranted of taking the 101. Which side do you fall on?
Yeah. So I know what you're saying with Pitts, and I'm about to make the same argument with Najee Harris, and it comes down to positional scarcity. But like with Harris, he has every single box you want to tick to be a potential top 10, top 6 running back. And, you know, the bad news for us is he's already 23. He's going to be, I think he's going to be 24. I have to double check by the time the season starts. But anyway, you know, he has a shorter shelf life to begin with, but the Steelers drafted him in the first round. He was awesome in college, had great production, did very well in my yards created metric, especially as a receiver. He's going to play every single snap. And for that reason, I mean, I'm always wanting to take rookie running backs early in dynasty. He's my 101 in non-super flex leagues. But, you know, all of this comes down to like, it's always super team specific and league specific too. I mean, every league has different, you know, different values and all of that. So, yeah, I mean, I've got a league where Ian Thomas is my number 1 tight end. Like, and if I have the 101, then yeah, I'm probably entertaining Kyle Pitts. Like, I'm probably entertaining that. Yeah.
And I think
Brandon.
I was on the Harris train. I was kind of with you. You know, I was just looking at a Sirius XM just did their post draft, and 13 of the first 14 picks were running backs. And Travis Kelce was the one guy that was wedged in there that wasn't a running back. But, you know, right now everybody's clamoring for the running backs that'll get, you know, quote unquote bell cow touches, and Najee's going to land right into it. We have faith in Mike Tomlin and rebuilding that offensive line. They're good at, you know, at producing those guys and developing offensive line talent. So I don't think they're going to be down in the dumps in that department for long. But Najee Harris is, as Graham mentioned, great running back, but great receiver as well. He's Le'Veon Bell in that system. We've seen how
they said works. He's better than Le'Veon Bell. If you saw the quote, by the way, just so you know. So real quick, can we get, I think, a consensus on this show? Can we agree with Ian Hartitz? So we've been tweeting for the past couple of days. I'm sure Graham, you might have even seen it, but can we put to rest this whole, the offensive line is not going to do him any favors and he's going to suck because he's in Pittsburgh? Can we stop with this now?
Yeah, that's just, I mean, you know, offensive line play matters, but it gets so overplayed. I think almost everything gets overplayed at this point in our little community. But yeah, man, like, you know, Steelers are obviously higher on their you know, talent internally than we are. They still took 2 linemen. You know, granted it wasn't in the second round. They took Pat Freiermuth, but they still took 2 linemen. Like, you know, I don't think this is going to be the 3rd worst offensive line. It might be the 8th worst, but yeah. Najee Harris is going to get the ball 320 times and we'll be just fine.
And you know, out here in the Northwest, I've seen a power running back do very well behind crappy offensive lines. I was
going to exactly say that.
Like you can overcome that. And everything that Pittsburgh did is for the future of their running game. Pat Freiermuth is one of the better blocking tight ends, and they go with 2 offensive line picks right after that. So their first 4 picks are all about, you know, the running game, seemingly.
All right, so 2 more topics, then we'll get to our game, and then we'll come back. So on the Pitts thing, I pulled the rookie year bets for him. Over under 750.5 yards receiving. So before everybody just kind of thinks of that in its own realm, here's context. The last person to do that and top it as a rookie tight end was Jeremy Shockey.
Yeah.
Before him, 1988, Keith Jackson. There's only been 4 tight ends in the history of football who have done it. And if you drop down to 700 yards, you get 2 more. One was Evan Ingram in 2017, which we all know also involved like 7,000 injuries to the wide receivers for the Giants, so he became the number 1. So I throw all that out there just as context for it. If you had to take a bet as of today, Graham, over under 750.5, but remember, these 4 also did it in only 16 games. Actually, fewer for some of them way back when. Right. So now we're at 17 games.
Yeah. So I think we'll see Pitts push the Jeremy Shockey record. Shockey got 128 targets in his rookie year. I don't think Pitts is going to get there with Ridley. If you give Ridley and Julio perfect health for 17 games, There's almost no way Pitts gets 128 targets, literally, unless the Falcons throw it 500, like 700 times. Like they've got to throw like 700 times to get there. That being said, we always talk about how rookie tight ends don't hit in their rookie season, but Pitts is an outlier from a number of perspectives. He's the earliest tight end drafted in a very long time, maybe all time.
He's really a wide receiver.
He's basically a wide receiver. They're going to line him up, at X. They're going to put him in the slot. Like they're going to put him all over the place. I think it's going to be close, man. I think that I really don't have a strong take on the line because I think it's an amazing, that's a perfect line. But I think I'd lean the under, man. Like,
ooh. I
think I'd lean the under. I think the Pitts hype has gotten to a point where it's a little bit overbearing, man. Like he has got to score 8 touchdowns to pay off his ADP, and with Ridley and Julio there, like, man,
I will say this: if you're talking about any type of leagues where you're already drafting or even dynasty, you might be able to get the blank ton haul for him at a trade right now, because I had somebody when I did my way too early rankings that already said, did you not see them take them at number 4? He's going to be the second best tight end behind Kelsey. Second best tight end behind Kelsey. Like, if you have people already saying that, Brandon, it's going to be insane, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. But I think, listen, I always say this, bet every season long under in the NFL, because it basically is requiring the guy to play a full season to get that number. Right. And we know that injuries happen, especially in a 17-game season. Now you're going to see even more. But to get to this number, he has to average 44 yards per game. I'm sorry, it's Calvin Ridley, it's Julio Jones, and then is Russell Gage going to steal a whole bunch of his thunder? Is Mike Davis?
Oh, maybe Zacchaeus. Come on.
In a 17-game season, what's the over on DMPs for Julio Jones? At this point, it's probably like 3.5. It's so there's going to be some games where he's the clear number 2 guy. I think he averages at least 44 yards per game. So I'm going to take the pace, the over on the pace. I think he's probably closer to 50.
Let's do it.
So real quick, I just pulled this up. So since 2000, there have been 7 rookie tight ends to finish top 12 at the position since 2000. So, and the only 3 who finished top 8 were Jeremy Shockey, John Carlson, and Evan Ingram. John Carlson, that was 2008, and that's before elite tight ends became elite tight ends. And then, obviously you have Shockey season, which we talked about, and then Ingram. Ingram might be the best comp, though, like out of all of those 3.
With better hands.
Oh, way better hands. Because Ingram's basically a big wide receiver.
All right, so here's I'll flip one on you guys. Who gets more? Touchdowns for Kyle Pitts or missed games for Julio Jones?
definitely Pitts touchdowns.
Yeah. I'll bet on 6 to 8, which I don't think Julio will get that quite that high, but he'll probably get 3 or 4.
I can see that. Yeah.
I think we're forgetting that Julio stayed pretty healthy prior to last year. He's always dealing with something, though. He's always dealing with something.
I think it was like 3 or 4 years in a row he was had a nice run there. All right. So, like I said, before we get to the game, all right, let's talk running backs. Then we'll come back, talk about wide receivers and veteran winners and losers, because that's intriguing. I think some of these guys are getting overlooked. But for running backs, we were talking about this before we even came on the show. It was about where the running backs fell, how few there were. So I think the biggest names, Graham, right now is obviously Javonte Williams. Like, people have already put Melvin Gordon on notice, and rightfully so. Michael Carter for the opportunity with the Jets, if you look at that backfield. And then you have Trey Sermon, Elijah Miller with the Midas touch god of running back creation out there. But we do know Mostert's the lead as of today. Who interests you the most? Who do you think might be getting a little bit too inflated? And then, did I leave anybody out that you think might be relevant?
Yeah, obviously ETN.
Well, we're not doing the ETN and Najee Harris. They don't count.
Okay, man. I think it'll be interesting to see where Javonte Williams's ADP shakes out for redraft, because for dynasty I'm all in. Like, you're going to get him at a slight discount because year 1 might be not necessarily a loss for him, but he'll probably, brass tacks, they're going to keep Melvin Gordon involved because they paid him $7 million and they kind of have to. It's a sunk cost for them.
Well, here you go. This is with zero context. Just kind of has it sound off the top of your head. Where he landed in my initial redraft rankings is RB 36.
Who, Williams?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I should pull it up.
Does
But
that feel fair?
I've got Williams a little higher. I think I got him in the early 30s. But yeah, I mean, I think, RB3 range, man. Like, it just depends on what game you're playing, what the scoring system is, all that. But yeah, Williams and Gordon will probably split touches in some fashion. And I think we could see, like, if Javonte just completely outplays Gordon, this obviously this, new regime, not really new regime, but new GM came in and traded up for him. So yeah, I think Javonte is, kind of in that RB3 range for this year, for our purposes in redraft, but for dynasty, man, it's gangbusters. Like, Melvin Gordon's out of the way, Mike Boone, they might bring back. Outside of that, it's going to be Javonte's backfield, and man, the Broncos, oh man, I mean, Patrick Surtain is a great player, but I mean, they're going to go into this year. The biggest question mark still hanging over this team is what are they going to do with Locke and Bridgewater. As for Carter and Sermon, I've got Carter at 4 in my rookie ranks, and then Sermon, and that's strictly because, and I have 2 articles coming out later this week on both of those guys. I like Sermon a little bit better as a player, but the Jets have nothing. They have literally nothing. Like, what are they going to do? Give Josh Adams the ball? Like, they got Tevin Coleman and LaMichael Pirine, who's just a guy. Like, it's Michael Carter's backfield. And then, the Niners, in typical Shanahan fashion, have 5 guys. Jeff Wilson's going to be involved too. Let's not forget about him. Shanahan loves him in the red zone. I just don't really see, unless Trey Sermon plays like, I don't know, just complete, somebody gets hurt and Trey Sermon just outplays everybody. I really don't see a path where Sermon, at least this year, is, anything more than, a boom bust RB4.
Yeah, I think they just don't want to get down to the point where they have to play their JaMychal Hasties. I think they were just like,
he's not going to be on the roster.
Yeah, no, I'm expecting it's Sermon, it's Wilson, and it's Mostert. Maybe Mitchell ends up on the practice.
Don't forget, I mean,
you guys, they have Wayne Goldman.
Thank you. I was just no. I know you say
that.
I know you say that tongue in cheek, but I'm saying Jeff Wilson's no guarantee with the fact that they signed Wayne Gallman. Like, they can't all be on the team.
Yeah.
Here's what I'll say, Funston, real quick, because I know you talked about Javonte Williams. I know you've talked about your love for him. Is to stick on this Sermon thing, because I took him in the middle of the second round. But again, that's the proof of how bad the dynasty draft is we're looking at a backfield of injury question. And all we know is we just pick blank running back leading the 49ers backfield. So is that thought process that I'm having with Sermon, is that going to lead him likely overdrafted in redraft, where the point is, for everybody out there, don't draft Sermon, let somebody else take him, get disappointed after 4 weeks, drop him, and then you jump in?
Yeah, it could be the Cam Akers situation, right? Where you're just like, you're gung-ho about him, but it just doesn't, failure to launch because of playing time or whatever. And that happened. People dropped Cam Akers, and that was
stupid movie, by the way. Failure to launch.
Failure to launch.
Really dumb movie.
Yeah, really dumb movie. But I'm just, I'm hands off on this. Just like it's the West Coast New England, right? It's the West Coast New England backfield where you're just going to have to wait and see how things play out. But I'm curious if you look back to last year where you had J.K. Dobbins and Jonathan Taylor, who, speaking to Javonte Williams, I think these things have a way of working themselves out where, J.K. Dobbins was sitting behind Mark Ingram, but we knew that Mark Ingram was going to be gone the following year. Well, he was gone, quicker than that. And Marlon Mack, he got hurt, but I mean, you kind of, maybe that's a better comp for Javonte Williams, is where was Jonathan Taylor ranked last year going into the year with a Marlon Mack sitting there in front of him?
And I think if you look at both situations, you have the upside of Taylor with the injury of what he did for the entire year. And then you have J.K. Dobbins, who took half the year to take over. But once he did and Mark Ingram was done, he was actually RB1 down the stretch. So it's that Miles Sanders, Cam Akers, J.K. Dobbins that's the upside you're hoping for. But that initial, problem is what we might have to deal with. It might be a few weeks before we get to the game. Can I get you guys on? Can we get? Everybody wants to know James Robinson. Okay, first of all, I know James Robinson barely ever happens. I even tweeted about this yesterday, saying the last one was Arian Foster, and the one before that was Chris Carson, who technically was a 7th round pick, so not even undrafted. It doesn't happen. I'm not even looking for RB1 value, but can I get you guys on board to say we're on to Javian Hawkins? Can we do that? Yeah. We're on to Javian Hawkins.
Hey, I took him in our dynasty draft in the 4th round. I loved it. Yeah.
Hey man, they got Caleb Huntley too. They got he's a big back from Ball State. They signed him as a UDFA too. But yeah, no, man, this Falcons backfield. I was shocked they didn't draft a back. Even in like the 5th round.
No, and the Huntley situation, the problem with Huntley is I see that Mike Davis needs to go down for Huntley, and Huntley would become the lead. I think Hawkins can be the timeshare piece no matter what happens. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Game time. You guys ready for this? This is like, you don't need to prep. This isn't like you have to remember 1973. No.
All right.
This is very simple. You bet. Okay. We're going to alternate who goes first, but you both get to answer. It's very simple. The name I give you, is it an athlete or is it a Star Wars person? That's all it is.
Okay.
Athlete or Star Wars. That's all you have to say. Graham, you're the guest, so I'm not going to make you go first. You can choose. Do you want to go first or second?
I'll go first. Yeah.
All right. Go first. First one. Zemgus Girgensons.
Wow, this is deeper than I thought it would be. I'm going to go Star Wars.
Brandon?
I was leaning Star Wars as well.
You are both incorrect.
Oh,
damn it.
My God.
NHL player.
Oh, I thought you were
Buffalo
going
Sabres.
only NFL.
No. I said sports. I said athlete.
Yeah, he did say sports.
Yeah.
Bring an
So,
NHL into the mix just changes the whole ball game here.
Well, exactly. The NHL is a bunch of guys with weird names. So.
All right, Brandon. Well, you're up first for this one then.
All right.
Tassu Leach.
Star Wars.
Now you got me thinking. I've literally never. I'm gonna go sports.
Sports. Brandon is on the board first.
Yeah.
That is the leader of the Kanja Club who confronts Han Solo on the ship.
Of course.
Force Awakens.
Oh.
There you go. Tassu Leach, everybody. Graham, you're up. Costa Kufus.
Oh, that's Star Wars.
Oh, no, it's not.
Is it?
Costa Kufus is he another hockey player? But it's a
mean,
sports player. I know
there you
that
go,
name.
Brandon. NBA.
NBA, that's what it is.
Oh, yeah.
You were so confident too, Graham.
Damn it.
So, Brandon, 2-0 lead. Come on. You're wearing the Star Wars shirt. You're down 2-0 through 3.
I'm completely blowing this here, guys.
All right, give it to me.
Brandon, the Adonis Praji.
I'm going sports.
Adonis Praji. I'm gonna go sports too.
That was your chance, Brandon. Come on.
No.
He is the officer who reports that the Death Star plans were stolen. The Adonis Praji. All right, Graham.
Damn.
Come on. You got to get on the board here.
I do.
Igor Bobkov.
Yeah, you're just saying names. Sports, I guess.
Funston?
Feel sports. I'm going to go sports.
Yep. NHL.
Hey.
Ducks. Hey, you're on the board, but you're still down 2.
Damn it.
Brandon, you're up. Taron Malkos.
That feels Star Wars.
I'm gonna go sports. Just because I got a split here.
Yeah. How many questions do we have? Or how many names?
I'm pretty sure it's Star Wars though.
I mean, there's 20 names, so you got plenty of time. I will actually. It's I mispronounced it, so I want to see Brandon. You might want to change your answer. I don't want to lead you a direction. I didn't mean that. It's actually Taron Malakos. There's an I in there, so Taron Malakos.
Yeah, that is leading. That is very leading. You're telling me to change my answer.
I don't even remember what your answer was. I'm 100%. I really don't even remember what your answer was.
I'm going to stick with Star Wars.
Okay.
Yeah, he's right.
You're going to go. So you're switching?
I'll switch. I'll go Star Wars. Yeah.
It actually is Star Wars. I thought the Ikos would change it. It is. It's the Jedi Master fought in the Clone Wars, survived on Dathomir, turned to the dark side with the Night Sisters, and tried to lure Cal Kestis in Jedi Fallen Order if you play in the game. So there you go. Still down 2, but 4-2 now. Brandon? No, you just went. Graham. Yes. Tristan Wren.
I'll go sports.
Yeah, I think the Wren was a trick question here, misleading on purpose.
Yeah.
I'm going to go sports as well.
No, and I'm highly disappointed in you, Graham. This is actually the brother of Sabine Wren from Star Wars, Clone Wars, and Star Wars Rebels, if you watch the cartoons. Disappointing.
I have not watched Clone Wars.
Well, rectify that.
I need to get on that.
Almost halfway through. Brandon, you ready for this
Give it
one?
to me. Yep.
God Shamgod.
Oh, that's a I think he's Providence basketball. I'll go basketball.
Yeah, it's sports.
You shouldn't say that so confidently. You helped out Graham over there. He's like that. But yes, God Sham God, actually drafted by the Wizards in the NBA. So there you go.
Was he Providence? I think he was Providence.
I didn't look up the colleges. Get out of here. All right. Graham, Wolf Ularen.
Star Wars.
I'm gonna see every time Graham answers first. I'm just gonna go with him so that I don't lose my.
Are you really gonna be that guy?
No, but my lean was Star Wars when I first heard it anyway, so I'm going Star Wars.
Okay, it is Star Wars. Officer in the first Death Star and A New Hope and Clone Wars and Rebels. So he was on 3 different shows. All right.
Wow.
Well, you have to go first on this one, Brandon.
Okay,
Jory
give it to me.
Laterra.
Jory sounds Star Wars. I'm gonna go Star Wars.
Graham.
I'll go sports. 'Cause honestly, I don't know.
Sports.
Yeah.
NHL.
Yeah.
St. Louis
Whoa.
Blues.
All
There
these
you
guys
go,
are
man.
hockey guys, man. Just obscure hockey guys and one humongous basketball player.
Hey, 1 basketball player, 2 basketball players so far. You're
Okay.
down only 1. You're getting close, Graham. All
Don't
right,
call it a
Graham.
comeback. Don't call it a comeback.
Aaron Ekblad.
Oh, Star Wars, right? I think so.
Brandon.
Aaron Ekblad. You know what?
Or
I'm going.
Ekblad. I don't know.
You don't know. I'm gonna go sports.
That gave it away.
I mean, I don't know how to pronounce these Star Wars names
Oh.
either, but it is.
But it is sports.
Damn it!
Yeah. NHL. Another NHL for Florida. All right.
Give it to
Brandon.
me. All right.
Derek Hobie Kivian.
I'm gonna go Star Wars.
Yeah, I'll follow it up Star Wars.
I was hoping the nickname would make you think it was a player. He's
Oh,
a
is it-
rogue.
Was Hobie a nickname? I thought that was
Yeah.
just a hyphened last
No,
name.
Derek Kivian, and Hobie is his nickname. A rogue squadron pilot in Empire and Rebels. So he was in 2 different things. All right, Graham, Koska
Yes.
Reeves.
Koska Reeves. Sports.
Yep, sports.
You are both wrong. On the Mandalorian, played by Sasha Banks. What the hell, guys? Come on.
Koska Reeves.
Yes,
What-
that was
what was his
Sasha
role?
Banks. Her role.
her role.
Mandalorian.
What was her role?
She was the black girl on the other squad.
Oh.
Yep.
Damn.
There you go. So
I need to get up on my IMBD pages.
you
Apparently,
do. You're really letting me down here. Brandon, Tiber Saxon.
I'm going sports.
Graham.
I'll go Star Wars.
There you go. On the board. Governor of Mandalore, brother of Gar Saxton. There you go.
Yeah.
He was
All right.
in 1 now, right?
Close the gap again. Yeah, Graham, back to you. Sicknarf Loopstock.
You say that again because that was so good.
Sicknarf Loopstock.
That was so good.
Narf.
Sicknarf. I'll go sports.
Brandon.
Oh gosh. Sicknar. That doesn't just sound like a name from anywhere in this world. So I'm going to say Star Wars.
It is sports.
Yeah.
Played minor league ball for the Cleveland Indians.
How do you not know that, Brandon? Come on.
Seriously.
What is wrong with you?
From what country of origin is he?
Sicknarf Loopstock. Everybody, you can go look these names up. These are real names. I will put them on the tweet because I don't know if you know how to spell them. So, Brandon, you're up.
Okay.
Jocasta New.
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Yes, is the Jedi librarian killed by Darth Vader in Attack of the Clones.
Oh.
So there you go. You are still tied 9-9. Graham, Sequoia Stone Cipher.
Sports.
Sports.
Yes, also minor league baseball for the Miami Marlins. Actually,
Jake's out here looking up AAA guys from like the 1990s.
it might even been single A. This is actually back when they were Florida Marlins. That's how Sequoia
Oh,
Stone Cipher
wow.
goes.
Yeah, how do you
Holy
look up
crap.
these names? Because you can't just you just look up a player list and start scrolling through it. Is that what you did?
No, I'll tell you the secret afterwards.
Okay.
So, Brandon, you're up. D. Bradley Baker.
Oh, D. Bradley Baker.
Not a
Seems-
nickname.
Seems
Bradley
so
Baker.
sports, and I'm gonna go anti and go Star Wars.
All right, then I'll go sports. I'll play that game.
And you would get it wrong, Graham, because
Damn it.
he is the voice of about 8 billion characters because he's the voice of every single clone in the Clone Wars and the follow-ups.
Wait, so is that the actor's name?
That's the actor's name, D. Bradley Baker, of the voice of.
Oh, I didn't know we were doing actors' names too. I thought we were strictly doing
whatever. You know, that's I had to throw that one in there.
Leaves the protest open. It's leaves the protest.
And I also want to give the Bad Batch launches today on May the 4th. So everybody, but that's why I did it. He does voice like a billion because it's all the clones, all of them. Graham, 2 more. You're down by 1. 2 more. Here we go.
Oh, I thought we only had 20.
Yeah. 2 more. We're on 18. Yeah.
Oh, well, it's just tied 9-9, and then we had 2 questions after that. So.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess that's.
Yeah. Math.
Yeah, because when we both missed,
out of 20. Yeah, out of 20. Yeah. The math is hard. Graham, Jetsi Extrano.
Star Wars.
Okay, I'm playing to win now. Star Wars.
It is a minor league baseball player for your Seattle Mariners.
What's his name?
Jetsi Extrano.
The current Seattle Mariners? I don't know.
Yes.
I've never heard of him.
So this is basically Graham is just going to pick the opposite of what you picked, Brandon, because that's the only way he can tie it up.
He can tie it. Okay.
And that works out well anyway, because you would have just picked whatever Graham picked in order not to lose. So at least we get a little differentiation here. So you're making the decision for Graham here. All right. Last one. Rito Berra.
I'm going Star Wars.
Yeah, I have to go sports.
And he ties it up.
Oh man!
All right, Jake. We need 40 more for overtime. Get on it.
For overtime, I'll see if I can find I'll see if I can find an overtime one for the end of the show. Tiebreaker. I have to figure something out here. Let's get back to sports. Oh yeah, by NHL, Colorado Avalanche. By the way, Rito Berra.
Man.
Jake, seriously, how did you find all these?
I'll tell you later.
Okay. All right.
So where are we leaving? Oh, veterans. I don't know why I clapped. Veterans. Well, that's what I'm clapping for winners. Graham, biggest winner or 2 or 3, however many you want to say. Biggest veteran winners. Oh, Mike Davis, obvious. Let's just take. You know what? I highlighted because I said we're going to talk about Mike Davis. Obviously, Myles Gaskin too. So we all know because we've seen billions of people tweeting about them. But other than those 2. Who's your biggest winner or 2 or 3?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Gaskin just ran so pure. I mean, Dolphins, they must love Salvin Ahmed too. I'm going to go A-Rob, finally getting a quarterback that has tangible upside. He's not just a statue back there. I think Fields, obviously there's questions with his processing and stuff, but, this offense is going to run through A-Rob. So I'll go A-Rob and another guy on your list, Jake, is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Outside of them, bringing back in Darrell Williams, and we'll see what they do with Jerick McKinnon. I think he might just be a camp body guy. But yeah, Clyde kind of ran pure too. I mean, Chiefs went all defense basically with their entire draft.
Yeah, I think if those are the obvious running backs. I think the wide receivers, I was surprised that the Saints did not take a legitimate receiver early, and they're going to roll with Traquan Smith as their number 2. I think that experiment seems to have failed multiple times, but they're going to run it back again. So that was a shocker. I have to respect his volume opportunity now. What he does with it is another story. We'll see. And then Josh Reynolds, he's there in Tennessee as the number 2, and they see him, I guess, as the direct Corey Davis replacement, and they're not worried about him. So there you go. Those are I think the 2 big wide receiver winners.
Reynolds is a great pick in best ball right now. Like, he's an awesome pick in best ball.
I think that's the one that's getting most overlooked is the fact that, they didn't really address the number 2. And if anything, is slot option.
Well, Jake, that's because A.J. Brown, it's wide receiver 1 season for A.J. Brown.
Yeah, I mean, of course.
Let's go.
100%. All right, so let me throw 2 more at you before we go over. This is Sam Darnold. If any team, look, I saw your reaction. This is what everybody's doing, but I know we're tired of Sam Darnold. But if any team's going to get the best out of him, if any team did exactly everything you look at to say, here's our quarterback, and also we're going to set him up for success, I've jokingly said put Joe Brady in the Hall of Fame immediately if he becomes a top 10 quarterback.
Yeah.
But let's be for realistic purposes, in a fantasy draft, do you just throw the dice out there in round 13 or 14 and the fact that they get the magic out of them that we saw in college?
I'm going to be targeting. I was shaking my head because I agree. I mean, for best ball, man, like I'm going to have him as my QB2 quite a bit with DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson stacks. For single quarterback leagues, I don't know how much upside Darnold has, and all of those guys, man, they're all replaceable if you don't get like a top 8 guy. Yeah. But yeah, Darnold, man, yeah, for best ball, he's going to stay cheap just because, like you mentioned, the sentiment will remain low on him.
Yeah, I just think the quarterback class is going to be so much deeper this year that, in a super flex 2 QB league, Darnold goes from someone you don't want as your QB2 to someone you'd be okay, rolling the dice on as your QB2. But, that's about as far as you can go. I mean, there's so many other quarterbacks you'd be interested in as a QB1, first of all, and then as the guy that you want as your backup QB, if you're even carrying a backup QB. I think they're all replaceable. And, in a lot of those competitive leagues, you're not even worried about wasting a bench spot on a backup QB.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. And the other one that I had highlighted here that we didn't touch on, Brandon knows this, so I'll go to you, Brandon. I'm a Henry Ruggs guy, and I'm not. This isn't an apologist. This is like, I continually say this is you got to look at context here. And what I continually bring up last year, Graham and Brandon again knows, is that Henry Ruggs is not equipped to be an outside every down wide receiver. That's not what he like. I know everybody wants to say Tyreek Hill is the easy comp, and everybody was doing that with Waddle this year, but like the usage, he's not Tyreek Hill, but the usage, that style is where he needs to be. And I said is that Bryan Edwards playing outside was going to help him. Bryan Edwards got hurt. They kicked him outside. And then you have the emergence of Nelson Aguilar's career at this point of the state. But all that being said is I think Henry Ruggs is getting way too quickly dismissed for what happened last year. And Brandon, this draft, do you know how many skill players the Raiders picked? 0. Zero. They did not draft a wide receiver, a running back. They did not draft a skill pick, which tells me they like Henry Ruggs. I like Henry Ruggs. Am I crazy to like Henry Ruggs?
Well, so I'm just imagining what happened with the Raiders is that Derek Carr had no familiarity with his wide receivers. There was no real preseason. They tried to run with 2 rookie wide receivers last year in Ruggs and Edwards. Brought in Nelson Aguilar, who was a free agent. So he didn't even really know these guys. So what did he do? He just fell in love with Darren Waller and just went to him over and over and over again. So I can give them a little bit of a pass on the wide receivers last year in that, they're going to have this full preseason run up this year. They've had a year to kind of, get their feet wet a little bit. And I would expect Henry Ruggs. And now that they've seen him and figured out, okay, well, this is how he's going to work better. And they got John Brown in there as well. They can run Ruggs inside more. I think it's going to be a better look for Henry Ruggs this year for sure.
Yeah, let's not forget too, Ruggs had two injuries last year early in the year. I think he was dealing with knee and hamstring injuries. And granted, it wasn't as severe as, Bryan Edwards, where he missed a bunch of time. Like Ruggs got hurt too. And, for those speed guys, anytime they pull a hammy or whatever, it's usually detrimental. One of my favorite offseason signings this year was actually John Brown. They got him on a super cheap 1 year, $3.5 million deal.
Sneaky.
And Brown can line up anywhere. So I guess for fantasy, I think, Ruggs and Brown fill the same type of role. Obviously Ruggs is, there's no question he has more juice, but I still, man, I was avoiding Ruggs, unfortunately, Jake, last year, pretty much everywhere. I don't think I ended up with any Ruggs. And honestly, I'm not sure I'm going to have much this year just because, this offense is Darren Waller getting 28% of the targets, and then they just kind of mix and match from there. And I think they're going to go with another receiver by committee, unless Bryan Edwards just like completely pops as their X receiver.
And I just would jump in. Everything I just saw from Ruggs last year, you always hear like, oh, you know what? He's not doing a whole lot, but the air yards. But I feel like, and you watched a lot of the games, they were going deep to it and missing. And it's like, feels like the kind of guy where maybe you pump back the brakes a little bit on the air yards and try to get him some shorter stuff in space where he can get some run after the catch opportunities. And it didn't seem like they were doing that a whole lot.
I think that, and that's actually what I was going to tie in is what you just said is also the comfort. Knowing Derek Carr knows what his speed is like, knowing where he's going to be, placing those balls a little bit, but like put some of it on Derek Carr. So I with you. I just think that what his cost is going to be, I'm going to look, admittedly, I'm going to have a ton of Ruggs and Rager this year. Give me the wide receivers people got pissed off about in the rookie season who were being drafted in the 8th and 9th round last year, and then nobody wants anymore. So one more on this whole situation that I want to throw out. So Mike Tagliere, and this is as rookie wide receivers as a whole, so I'm going to pivot off before we get to the veteran losers because we're talking wide receivers, is he tweeted this out. So Mike Tagliere, Fantasy Pros, 35 wide receivers drafted in the 4th round or later, so day 3 wide receivers since 2012. Not a single one has been a top 50 wide receiver.
Wow.
So
how many years?
Last 8 years.
Wow.
So RIP to Amon-Ra St. Brown.
That's where, so that, even let's pull in some of these 3rd round wide receivers because we were talking about how much people were buried this year. You can talk about Palmer, which I was shocked he was actually in the 3rd round, but Miami going to Washington, Rodgers going to play with maybe Rodgers, Nico Collins with Houston. Like, is there anybody? Are we done? Is it the 2 Moores and Marshall and then just throw out the rest of the wide receivers this year, Graham?
I'm still holding a candle for Amon-Ra St. Brown just because the Lions have dust at wide receiver. It's I mean, they got Quintez Cephas and then Rashad Perriman, but man, I mean, it's like,
don't forget the Gazelle.
Oh yeah, how could I forget Tyrell Williams, who hasn't been relevant since like 2015, right? 2016. TJ Hawkinson is going to lead this team. TJ Hawkinson will lead this team in targets, but I think after, like you mentioned, the 2 Moores and Marshall, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is like, well, I like Amari Rodgers too, but outside of those 2 guys, I think that's kind of it for this class.
I like Josh Palmer. I said that before the draft, and he was on a bad passing Tennessee team, but he has all the traits. He just didn't have the production, and I like his landing spot because, Jalen Guyton and who was it, Tyron Johnson had their moments. Mike Williams has been a little bit uneven. I just feel like there's opportunity there tied to a really good quarterback, and they liked him enough to take him in the 3rd round when, maybe that wasn't their most obvious need. But I think it kind of was because I think they just have a bunch of guys, and Mike Williams kind of jury's still out on him after, 3-4 years in the league. So I think there's opportunity for him. If the skill I saw translates, I think he's a guy that could rise pretty quickly with the Chargers.
Yeah, I have a little bit of hesitancy with Palmer and actually the Chargers as a whole. Part of me, and maybe it's watching 3 years of Herbert, and maybe it's, but watching him last year, I kind of feel like we got the book on him, and we're going to see like not quite Daniel Jones, but see a step back in year 2, like where he doesn't necessarily decline, but necessarily I don't think he's going to improve. I think there's still holes if you watch this game. So I'm kind of out on the Chargers outside of Keenan Allen. I'm outside, like just off the Chargers as a whole. I just have a lot of hesitancies with Justin Herbert year 2, and maybe I'm the stupid idiot, but it's after, and I could be clouded for how much I watched him in college, but that's the Herbert. Yeah. So let's talk about losers real quick. We know Andy Dalton. We know Jimmy Garoppolo. We know,
you call him by his correct name, QB1 Andy Dalton. Damn it.
The funny thing was, Graham, is I tweeted this out like 2 months ago when it happened, and everybody's like, "Oh, he's the best quarterback Allen Robinson has ever had." I said, actually, if you look at the past 2 years, Andy Dalton, he's not the best quarterback he's ever had. So we know those losers, but I want to touch on 2 specifically. We already touched on Melvin Gordon. We already kind of talked about the 49ers backfield, but there's 2. First one, let's go back to James Robinson. Graham, is he as big as a loser as people are making him out to be, or is it bigger and people maybe aren't like realizing how big of this is with a new regime, drafted a 1st-round running back in ETN? I mean, is it potentially? So what we talked about last week, Graham, is that it's similar to Alvin Kamara and Latavius Murray. That's the comp everybody's making. But that ETN's a lesser version of Kamara. Robinson's a better version of Latavius Murray. Do you agree, or you think it's going to be worse?
Yeah. So, I mean, last year, the Jags just, their backfield fell apart. I mean, Chris Thompson was supposed to be their passing down guy. He got hurt again. I think they expected Ozigbo to come back. He couldn't. They had Raquel Armstead on the COVID list. He had complications all year. So Robinson, it was like a perfect storm, man. Robinson's awesome. He definitely deserves the praise he got, and he definitely deserved the starting role because he certainly earned it. That being said, though, let's not pretend that, they didn't have anything behind him. Robinson put up the numbers he did because he got a ton of volume. He got 60 targets in 14 games, and because that Jags team just was constantly trailing, and he was on the field for every single snap. So to me, it's not really a surprise that the Jags took it back. What was the surprise is that they took ETN in the first round. Like I kind of felt like they needed a passing down back, take somebody to take the load off Robinson. It's the reason he got banged up at the end of the year. He had a really bad ankle injury in week 13, week 14 that he tried to play through, and then obviously couldn't for the final 2 games. I wasn't surprised that they took it back. They had to have a passing down back to go with Robinson. That being said, I think, and I noted this in my article on Travis Etienne, Etienne's not a good inside runner. Like he is, the comps that he gets to Alvin Kamara and Dalvin Cook, I just don't see, because Etienne is a perfect fit in like an outside zone, RPO heavy scheme where he's, just making one cut and going. He's not somebody that's going to be able to sift through traffic and make quick cuts through traffic like Najee Harris can, because he doesn't have that footwork in his repertoire yet. I think Etienne, man, I think his landing spot kind of tells you, like, and I believe Urban Meyer when he says this. I don't believe Urban Meyer when he says Etienne's only a third down back. That's ridiculous.
Right,
but I did believe him. I did believe him when he said Robinson and Hyde are going to be involved, heavily on early downs. I think there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah, and I always think about the fungibility of running backs. Like if it was Myles Gaskin that was in camp there instead of James Robinson, and he got that opportunity, how much different would his stats be? Or if it was Mike Davis and we saw Mike Davis fill in for Christian McCaffrey, and I think there's a level of running back that's out there that with the volume they're going to do certain well, and then there's the next level of talent. And I think when you look at ETN versus James Robinson, there's just a next level of talent, and I think a coach is going to figure out a way to make sure that higher level of talent is going to be out there a decent amount of time. Not that he's not going to lean on James Robinson for certain things, but I think the days are clearly over of James Robinson being a bell cow guy or anything close to it, So yeah, it just certainly sounds like this is going full on platoon here in Jacksonville.
All right. Well, then 2 more quick questions and the tiebreaker to get you out of here, Graham. Brandon, now that you've had time to gestate on this and Graham's first opinion with us on it, but T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, a lot of people pushing back immediately. Like I had Jamar Chase at wide receiver 35 to 40, somewhere around there. And so I would love to put him higher. And to be honest with you, if we get more of a regular offseason, I could push him higher. But what we still don't know. What if this offseason's a lot like last offseason and these wide receivers aren't out there and there aren't OTAs and camps and then there's 2 preseason, maybe 1 preseason game. So I'm just saying, as of today, too low, Higgins more in doubt, Boyd more in doubt. How, as today, you're drafting, where are you in the Bengals trio?
I haven't changed a lot from when we talked on Friday, which I said I would have these guys probably all just outside the wide receiver 2 range, but like within a 6, 7, 8 spot range after that, because you look at last year and it was easy to see they all had right around the same amount of targets, like right in that 100 to 110 range. AJ Green did nothing with his, like T. Higgins about doubled his production on the same amount of targets. But I think Jamar Chase, coming in, having that familiarity with Joe Burrow, can hit the ground running a little bit more so than most wide receivers can. And I think he can fill that role where he's pushing 100 targets, filling in the AJ Green role. And I would rank him the last of the 3, but I think he's really close to Higgins and Boyd. I don't know if I'm going to go quite 34, 35. I might be like 31, 32, 30 right there with Higgins and Boyd just a little bit in front of him.
Yeah, so I actually have it flipped. I've got Chase at wide receiver 25. Then Higgins.
It's certainly fair.
Yeah, I got Higgins at 29 and then Boyd at 36. I'm still kind of doing some maneuvering. But man, I mean, you take a receiver at 5 overall, like he's immediately, regardless of the previous connection, obviously that Burrow and Chase have, take a receiver at 5 overall. I mean, he's usually walking into 16, 18% target share at the worst. And then you add in the fact that Bengals are going to have to throw a shit ton because their defense still isn't that great. They lost a good corner. Their offensive line isn't very good. So I'm imagining they're going to have to get the ball out quick. Yeah, man, I think Chase is above all those guys. I'm concerned for Boyd, man. I'm real concerned for Boyd because last year Boyd put up basically borderline wide receiver 1 numbers before Burrow got hurt. He was the wide receiver 14 in like weeks 1 through 9 before Burrow ripped up his knee, and then he died after that. So my concern is like that was T. Higgins' rookie year. They add in Chase, get Burrow back healthy. I think we're going to see Boyd, his target share drop off a little bit there with Chase dominating targets probably on the outside.
That's certainly fair. Like I said, they're going to be this is going to be an interesting offseason for these situations like that. All right. So Graham, do you want the bonus question or do you want the sports question before we finish the show? Which one do you want?
Let's finish it, I guess, with the tiebreaker.
So, all right. So the sports question next. All right. That works for me.
Yeah.
All right. So anybody we didn't mention, anybody, I know we talked about Hawkins already, but is there anybody that rookie wise that we didn't mention that you just have your eye on? Brandon knows this, undrafted free agent, but now he's also semi-buried. So I'm looking future years here, but this is super, super deep dynasty, but I'm an Emer Trabibi guy. I love Emer Trabibi. I was pissed off that he didn't get drafted. I love the fact, I actually do like that he's with Trevor Lawrence. And if you look at the depth chart, there's a lot there. But there's a lot there that wasn't tied to Urban Meyer. So at least I'm holding out a little bit of hope. Is there anybody out there super deep wise that you've got your eye on?
Let's be honest. You just like saying the name too, because that's a great name.
Star Wars or sports?
I'll go Star Wars. No, honestly, guys, this rookie class, I think just kind of, man, it just kind of fell off the ledge a little bit. I really don't. I mean, the good news. So some of these UDFA guys like Tamaran Terry, like Emer Tabibi, the good news is the UDFAs have the same hit rate as 4th and 5th round picks for fantasy, at least. I mean, it's still super low. I mean, we're still talking about for top 12, wide receiver one stats, it's 8% hit rate. And then for top 24, it's 15 or so. So the good news is, UDFAs, I think because they have to come into camp and really prove it. Some of these RB, the round 4, round 5 guys, they're kind of just tweener types. So I think I'm with you on taking some shots on some of the later round receivers. Like you mentioned, I still am holding a candle for Seth Williams, my guy, Auburn receiver, big receiver from Auburn, but he's probably buried on the Broncos depth chart and no guarantee to make the team.
Brandon, you got one?
Yeah, I don't have I mean, I told you Josh Palmer's sort of my guy. I could
not day 3, but for purposes of being overlooked, I could definitely see it.
I will say, just the local guy, Dwayne Eskridge from Western Michigan. People poo-poo it because he's going to a Seattle offense is so run heavy. But here's the deal. It's a Shane Waldron run offense now. Pete Carroll is showing he is changing his ways a little bit.
Sure.
Shane Waldron comes in. You look at the Rams. They had, Brandon Cooks, Cooper Kupp, and Robert Woods. You look at Zach Taylor, the tree there with the coaching there. And I just talked about 3 receivers that had 100 targets last year. They could, and it's been a wide receiver 3 in Seattle's been been nothing for years. But it could develop into something. I'm just saying.
So I was gonna say that actually gives me another bonus question in case you both get the same one correctly. This is this is not a Star Wars question, so that'll be. But it's so I will say, Brandon, the draft capital is 100% there with Eskridge. The Terry and even the K Johnson undrafted free agent signings worries me a little bit. It's just kind of I'll give you guys one more name out there for everybody before we get to the last question for the tiebreak is Simi Fehoko, because Gallup is up next year, and you make Gallup expendable for all the money that you put in at Dak and Amari and Zeke and everything you have tied up, and you're looking for who could be the replacement who's raw. That's what made me think of him, Graham, like Tamarian Terry, who those are both very raw prospects, and he could step in again. 2 or 3 years from now. All right, so tiebreak. Let's see if we can get this. Graham, it's tied up, so you can just go first. Rush Clovis.
Oh no. I'll go sports, I guess.
All right, just for the sake of letting this podcast,
I have other backups. I have three. I have 3 tiebreaks.
My first initial thought was Star Wars, so I'm going to go Star Wars, and I'm thinking I might lose this one, but
no. By saying I had 3 tiebreaks, I tried to help you, Graham. It was actually Star Wars. Rush Clovis, Star Wars. Yes, a senator. He was influential. He was actually a romantic interest of Padme before Anakin. So for everybody out there.
I feel like I was leading that thing. I felt like Graham was drafting off me the whole way. I would have been pissed if I had lost this thing. Yeah.
So the actual pure only strike, Brandon, the highest number of targets on the Seahawks after Lockett and after Metcalf last year? What was the number?
Well, it was probably Chris Carson.
I don't care who it was. I just want the number. And it wasn't Chris Carson.
Gosh,
It's David Moore, right?
There you go. It was David Moore.
I'll go 56.
Graham?
62.
No, you should have Price is right at him. It's 47. 47.
Oh,
Number
Oh,
3.
jeez.
Yes.
I'm
Damn.
telling you, don't just all that stuff goes away. It's a new.
It goes
regime.
away, but are we gonna double and give all that to the third wide receiver? I'm just saying.
No,
like, I'm with you.
I was not saying that he's going to get 94 targets. I was just saying it's going to be a bigger thing.
Hey, math. There you go to close out the show. Graham,
All right.
remind everybody all your goodness, all your greatness, where to find your stuff, and all you got coming out.
Yeah, man. Fantasypoints.com. I think I mentioned earlier, but we got some yards created stuff coming out. Tom Brawley and Joe Dolan have been cranking out some market reports for the veterans and all the rookies. Again, you can get 10% off, $10% off. It works out like $10, $12 hairs. So save yourself some cash. 21 Barfield 10.
Brandon,
I love the doll hairs reference just because I had two brothers and we would say doll hairs so that it was like, oh, I said doll hairs, I didn't say dollars, I don't owe you dollars. So that was always our little way
nice
to
call
get out
back.
of owing somebody some money.
Exactly.
Make sure you check out Graham. It's a good one. Pay attention. We'll see when he shaves his beard next. It's coming in nice. You might want to just let it go for as long as
I don't know. It's gonna get. We're gonna go down to Florida here next week. So I got to get this thing shaved, or else I'm gonna be a sweaty mess. But yeah.
Exactly.
Well, Brandon and I will be back next week, next Tuesday, as always. We appreciate it, guys. Thanks again to Graham. Happy Star Wars Day. We'll see you guys later.